Deaundra Metzger is an accomplished celebrity hairstylist, widely known for her work in the entertainment and film industry. She has accumulated a total of 30 years in providing professional hair care services locally and nationally, including owning and operating the renowned 360 Degrees Salon from 2000 to 2007, which turned into a partnership until 2010. Having a flourishing career, she has been fortunate to amass a star-studded clientele that includes the likes of Fantasia, Monica, CeCe Winans, and many others. Some of her work for film projects include Tyler Perry's House of Payne and Meet the Browns, BET's American Soul, First Wives Club, Hunger Games, the Divergent Series, Jumanji 3, Black Panther, Clint Eastwood's Richard Jewell, Suicide Squad 2, Yvonne Orji, Dominique, Fishback, and Danielle, Deadwyler until. Beyond her work as an entertainment stylist and helping stylists in their business, she also has her own company of eyewear chains, Flyware Chains, as well as a charity-based organization that has successfully made Christmas happen for over 130 families for the last 14 years, the Metzger Family and Friends Foundation. Amazing. Deaundra is known for her passion while on the job, but bravery in saying, nope, I'm not available. Her motto has always been God first, family, then hair. Resilient, courageous, and compassionate are just a few words that capture Deaundra's true character and nature. So, Dee Dee, welcome to the pod. We are so excited to have you. Your list of accomplishments and achievements and accolades and awards is beyond all of us. So, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You bet. Okay, we're going to start at the beginning because we got a lot to get into today. So, did you know that you would always go into beauty? Take me back in the day.
No, I did not know. And really, I worked in a salon in high school, and I told the hairstylists all the time, "Oh, I will never do hair. I'm not going to do hair. I'm not going to do hair." But then there was just something about the way clients felt after they stepped out of the chair. I love the camaraderie of ladies in the hair salon, relaxing, letting their hair down, speaking about conversation. And then I love the way stylists made clients feel. And so that drew me to the hair industry. And as much as I tried to get away from it, because I'm the person that was doing hair for all the kids in the neighborhood, all the teen girls. So as much as I tried to get away from it, I ended up being a hairstylist.
Here you are. So my mom was a hairstylist and salon owner for 40 years. And so I grew up too, just in the salon, which I think there's no better place to be. Like when it's get your hair done day, it's like, yes, this is the day.
Yes.
So I've got you on that one. Tell me about what your path looked like.
I started, like I said, in my mom's kitchen until she kicked all of us out. Said we couldn't be here in her house anymore. I can't imagine coming home now and having 7 or 8 girls after I got off work in my living room waiting to get their hair done. But I started there in my mom's kitchen, and then I worked as an assistant in the salon. And then I decided to go to cosmetology school. And then I started doing hair. I've done everything in every capacity in the business. So I've been an assistant. I have been a commission stylist. I have been a booth runner. I have been a salon owner. So every capacity I think I've touched. And a friend of mine, she introduced me to the movie industry. She needed help on set, and she asked me if I would come and help her. And that's how I ended up in the world of production.
That's amazing. And dare we say it's your favorite role in the industry?
I won't say favorite, but it is the most challenging. And what I do love about it, because it's forever changing. Because, even when you have TV, and then you have film, and then you have streaming networks. So you're getting to know all of these different industries, and they all film a different way. There's different budgets. So I would say it's still a positive challenge, though. I'm always constantly learning new ways of doing things. But I do love it, and I love character creation. So that's very, very intriguing to me. I love it when I can get the backstory of a character, their history, and I figure out who this character is and collaborate with all of the powers that be to make this person come alive on screen. I do love that.
That is so interesting, and what a cool and unique position to be in, because we're captivated by these characters, right? And so for us in the industry, we're looking at the makeup, the nails, the hair, like what period did it come for? What are they trying to portray? And honestly, the hair is a huge part of it.
Yeah.
So I think you're doing amazing, incredible work. So
Oh, thank you.
speaking of a movie, there's a little movie called Till, right? Congratulations on your work with Till, as well as your nomination for your hair work for the movie. Your work,
Thank
as noted, was impeccable. Um, Tell me a little bit about working on the movie.
Oh, the movie was that was
Ugh.
probably the best out of 13 years of being in the movie
Mm,
industry. That was the best project I've ever worked on. I've
wow.
learned the most with that project. It was a very hard project and challenging in the sense of it was heavy content. You know, there were a
Yes.
lot of days that we were very emotional. We were all crying on set or
Hmm.
either running from someone else that was a crier every day, just trying to
Hmm.
hold our composure and keep it together.
Yeah.
As hairstylists, makeup artists, people that are in direct contact with the actors, there's a rule, and I don't know who started this rule, but when I started the business, that if the character has a heavy scene that day, or if
Mm,
that you kind of stay away from them. You know, if they
got
have
it.
a lot of lines. So there were a lot of days our lead, Danielle Deadwyler, had a lot of heavy content, and
Oh,
we would literally stay away from her and I would do her hair. It was important that I did her hair to perfection from that morning, and it would work that if something happened emotionally and something got messed up, that it would work for the scene. And Danielle, I'm not going to come in and keep doing touchies on you because I know you need it. But she was a comedian, and not by she's not trying to be, but she's so funny.
oh,
So there were
wow.
days I'm trying to stay away from her and hold it
Hmm.
together after watching her scene, and she has all of us in the background just dying. She would come to us as opposed to us trying to stay away from her. So she
Wow.
kept it light. We made the best of the situation, but it was a very heavy, even when we got to the funeral scenes where you saw, the FX, the body that
Hmm.
they made, special effects made, and it looked so much like the real thing. And
Oh,
we
gosh.
always had pictures of inspiration on the wall so that you can kind of, I think it helped all of us channel what we were doing and
Okay.
how important it was. And for me, I used it as reference
Yeah.
for Mamie Till. Mamie Till was a very sharp lady for a woman, an African American woman in 1952. She was very big, dressed to the nines. So all I
Wow.
used was her
Yeah.
references. I
Wow.
used, yeah, I used her references, and it was important. When I took the project, I was actually the key. I was not the department head, and then the
Okay.
department head had to leave to go to do another project.
Okay.
So I took over, but it was important for all of us when we collaborated, starting that we didn't have to create a character.
She was. Yes.
She was Mamie Till. She was
Ooh.
already, her significance was so important.
Mhm.
She worked for the military, so she had a good job for someone, an African American woman whose husband was deceased. She had a very good job. And so she was dressed to the nines. So we just emulated what we saw.
That's incredible. So, for our listeners out there, this was a very, very, very important story and that the movie's portraying. For those who haven't seen it or heard about it yet, can you tell us kind of the narrative and sort of why that was heavy, right? We kind of jumped into that. So, nice frame of reference.
Okay, so the story, for those that don't know the actual story, it is a real story of how a young man who was a teenager, he was born his mother was born in Mississippi, and she moved to Chicago. So he wasn't raised to have the same attitude of, and they made the reference of playing small in like he would in the South. He was a little bit more there was still racism that existed, but you definitely, Black African Americans did not have to uphold the same rules in the North as they did in the South. So
Okay.
he goes to visit his family. He says the wrong thing to someone, or is suspected of saying the wrong thing
Hmm.
to a white woman, and he was lynched. He was murdered. He was killed. And the story Till is about not just him, because a lot of us, we knew that story, but it was about Mamie Till.
Yeah.
and her role in the civil rights movement.
Mm-hmm.
She was very, very important to the start of the civil rights movement. You know, if we always talk about Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, she came before them. It was her decision to show the body at the funeral that actually, catapulted the civil rights movement.
Wow.
It kind of got the attention of much more people because she made that decision, and it was on printed ads and it was in newspapers. So that's what the story. And so Till, the movie is very good with just not even revisiting those traumatic circumstances. It talks about the love story between a mother and a son, their relationship. So it's a very, very good movie. And I'm not just saying that, I'm not being biased, but I think it's a very good story that people need to hear or see.
And you talked about before, doing hair for an event and a person that started this movement, right? Really, really impactful. You weren't creating a character from thin air, right? So were there any looks from the movie that you were a little worried or had some leeway in creating, I should say?
Well, in a period film, there are rules, there are certain rules you follow for that era. There are certain things that in 1952, in the early 50s, hats were important. So hats and hair played a significant collaboration together. In the 50s, women wore hats, but when they go inside, they take their hats off. So they literally would style their hair around a hat. So I would find these, when you're studying period, it's always good to find exactly what reason people did that. It helps you kind of understand and maybe style better. So having learned that and studied that, and I knew before doing this movie, because I've done a lot of period films, that women wear their hats on the back of their head, but I didn't know the history or the marriage between a hat and hair then.
Yeah.
So literally I would style her hair knowing that the hat would have to come off in the scene. And so if the hat was off, the hair had to be meticulously placed around the hat. So if the hat came off, it would still look pristine. So just details like that, and it's fun doing research. I love period. I love doing period here because you do get a chance to learn those little facts. And those are facts that you take to the next project.
For sure.
And the next project.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You've got 13 years of facts.
Yes.
So, what was the reason that they wore hats and then took them off?
It was just, that was part of fashion. It was just part of fashion. And then when they would go in a room, it was customary or, that a woman would just take off her hat, I wouldn't say it was a sign of respect and, like if a guy would walk in a room, but it was just something she did. She didn't always just leave her hat on. She would take it off and she would carry her hat and,
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Did you have a look that you were proud or most proud to recreate for the film?
I would probably say it was Mamie Till.
Yeah.
However, I had fun doing Catherine Bryant too, but I didn't, we choose a team. So our team select people to do certain roles when you're running a department. And so, there was someone on my team that did Carolyn Bryant and my mentor and friend who, again, I mentioned earlier, who had department head at the movie, she created some of the looks when we were prepping for the show or prepping for the movie. So I would say that Mamie probably was the most exciting. Well, I will say this, Jalen Hill was, I would say, was another character that was really fun, creating his look every day because his hair was about 8 inches long. So we would blow it dry and stretch the length, and then we would braid it in these little tiny thin braids to put a wig on that would fit snug on his head. So I wouldn't say that was my favorite, but challenges are good for me. I like challenges. I like to make things come to life. I like to solve problems when it comes to hair on set. So I enjoy doing that one as well.
That's fantastic. All of the things as a general consumer you don't think about, right? That go into the look.
Yeah.
How many styles, how many cast members are you generally doing on a team for a production like this?
Well, it was a team of 3 or 2.
Okay.
And there were times when we had 250 background actors. And so we would have to get them all dressed. Now, we were on a limited budget on Teal. Teal was not the best budget because these are stories that sometimes production companies don't want to invest in. So it wasn't the best budget. So we had to literally figure out a way to get 250 people ready. So, of course, part of, running the department is hiring people that hire people or pick hairstylists that could actually do the job.
Yeah.
Or recreate looks that are, appropriate for that period. So we literally would have to, because there were times where there weren't enough manpower to do the work. So I created a system where I laminated cards, and I had green cards, yellow cards, and red cards. And if if we got a chance to touch them, we did their hair, we styled it, and it was perfect. They would get the green card. If someone came in and their hair could pass for that period, but maybe not, we just had to do a little bit, they would get the yellow card. And if someone's hair was totally inappropriate, they would get the red card. And that's how we kind of ran it to make sure that all of those 250 people, that you'd have to fill this space, with all of these people, but we would let the producers and director know they can scoot to the back if they weren't really appropriate, and we'll put the ones that were more appropriate for that period. But they just use those people as room filler. Yeah.
That is incredible. I don't even know how he would do that many people, or even, wow.
Yeah. So we wouldn't do them, but we would hire people to do them, but it was never enough. It's never enough period film. It's never enough, people to do the job. And we just did what we had to do to make it work.
Yeah. That is incredible. Wow. So, we saw some Instagram posts about, what was happening behind the scenes while Till was being filmed, and you touched on it a little bit too, but anything else you want to say about how you kept the cast and the crew and the environment light in between scenes?
Well, I wouldn't say that I was responsible for that, but I think the hair department and the makeup department are very key in making sure that the hair trailer is the first trailer that they see in the morning.
Okay.
So we are very involved. They are very involved emotionally with us. There's a connection that has to be made before they go to set. I like to say that the hair department is the most important department of the whole project, but
I'm
a little biased. But I do think that we control how the actors feel in the morning. I think we have a lot to do with whether we make them or we make sure they're in a good mood. So there's certain things that I like to do to run my department that helps with, what kind of music, the person who has the most lines that day, what atmosphere would they like? Do they like candles? Do they like music? So it's so much. I like to tell people who are trying to get in the industry, it's so much more than hair. You have to be able to fill a room. You have to see what's the tone of the room. If an actor comes in with her sides and she's studying her script, then I know we might need to listen to jazz where there are not any words to music, or maybe no music at all, depending on how heavy the circumstance is. If they're talking amongst each other, knowing what conversations to let them have, because those might be conversations that they need. So it's a lot of reading the room, what's the atmosphere of the movie. So I will say that that would be my contribution, to a particular project. How do they start their day?
Yeah. Very, very important. And it's such a high pressure situation too, with very dynamic personalities, right? So
exactly.
There's a lot of things to think about. You've done a lot of movies and series, like we talked about, beyond this fantastic one. You touched on how you broke into the industry. Someone had called you. What was it like, that first movie or series that you did?
I won't say the name of the series because I thought, I would never do this again.
Okay.
It was crazy because, we're used to controlling our own environment coming from the Sonora, and then we go to a place where there's someone else in charge, and then there's someone else in charge of that person, and someone else in charge of that person. So, because it was new to me, I won't say it was the greatest experience, and I thought I'd never do it again. Okay. But then when offered another challenge of, again, creating characters, like I mentioned before, what I love to do, that's when it became actually very, very fun for me.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. What are some of the challenges that you've encountered along the way?
I would say personalities,
Okay.
making sure, but I do think the salon helped in a sense, having
Yeah.
worked in big salons and having, years ago, you worked in a salon. And the big thing is suites, salon suites now. So there are not a lot of people that work in salons. But years ago, it might be 25 hairstylists in the salon.
Yeah.
You got to learn to get along with people,
Yeah.
because you have to work next to them every day. So I
Hmm.
do think that was a skill that I was able to take from the salon to the production world,
Yeah.
because I can get along with any personality. I can work with you and just, if I could be honest, I might not like you, but we can work together. We can,
Yeah.
we both have a job to do.
Right. Yeah. That's so important because you're funneling, if you're working in a salon with many stylists, as you mentioned, and different layers of management, and then you have, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 clients a day, all of those different personalities, you're right. You learn to kind of naturally read the room.
Exactly.
For
Exactly.
sure.
Exactly. Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about the NAACP. You're nominated for your work Until, which
Yeah.
congratulations.
Thank
Yay.
you.
Was
Thank
that a
you.
moment that you were like,
Oh, yes. I was
gonna
so
need? Yeah.
excited about that. And of course, we submitted for the Oscars and
Okay.
for, the Emmys, it's not the Emmys, but the Oscars and BAFTA awards. So, in the Makeup Guild Awards,
Okay.
that's an award show that's hosted by IOC 706,
Okay.
hair and makeup artists. But, we of course, we wanted it all. I wanted it all. I wanted to
Hmm.
be nominated for them all, but I am definitely most proud of being recognized in my community
Hmm.
for an award. So the NAACP would always be the most proud award, that I could have, the nomination that I could have achieved.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for this so important
Mhm.
film, right?
Mhm.
Have you ever
Yes.
been nominated before?
No, I haven't been nominated for
Oh,
an award in the production industry. I
okay.
used to compete years ago, different hair shows and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I've gotten that acknowledgement for um my work before, but again, this is still a challenge for me. I'm still learning. I'm still, now I'm department heading. For a long
Yeah.
time as a mother who wanted to be present, I I I worked part-time in the production industry because I knew
Okay.
it was something that I did not want to do full-time and raise my daughter.
Hmm.
So being a present parent, I couldn't fully dive into the career full-time. So once got older, went away to college, then that's when I completely dived in. And I
Okay.
would say that was about 2018.
Okay.
So I've worked in the industry for 13 years, but for 8 of those years, it was part-time.
Okay. Got
So
it.
now this is challenging for me. So I am very, very excited about the acknowledgement of something that doesn't come very easy for me.
Hmm.
Because you just, it's just a pat on the back, like, okay, you're
Hmm.
doing a good job. You're doing a good job. So that's exciting.
Very exciting. For our listeners, tell us why we should place and put more emphasis and light on the award for the NAACP, just as we do the Emmys or the Grammys.
Well, I do think that all have a significant role. In the NAACP Awards, it was created because there was a community of people that were not getting acknowledged for their talents. So they decided to create, a space to celebrate people of color. So I do think it's very important. However, I do think it's important that everyone that wants to celebrate the good work of someone
Mhm.
else, I
Yeah,
think that should always get a lot of attention.
I
Because
love it.
I think we focus so much on negativity, and I think
Yeah.
that's a positive event.
Hmm.
So anything that's positive, I hope it gets the attention it deserves.
Amazing. So we're going to
Yeah.
talk now about how you're leading beauty professionals in your community and business development. So beyond your work in movies and shows, we've talked about Till. We haven't mentioned Hunger Games, Divergent,
Yeah.
Jumanji. I mean, holy smokes. You also help stylists with their businesses. Tell us about your new launch of Leading Beauty Professionals Community.
It's okay. So what I am most passionate about and it still gives me chills because it's very important, is that hairstylists and makeup artists and freelance artists and barbers are running their businesses like a true business.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes because they don't sit in the front of a desk. So they don't have anybody, they can't, handle and do all of the behind the scene business that needs to be done to actually run their business.
Yeah.
They and oftentimes they're so exhausted because it's such a physical job.
For sure.
That when they get off, they don't want to do it when they get home.
Yeah.
I became passionate about that part of the business when I owned a salon, and my mom, who came from corporate America, ran my salon. And so she put systems in place for me that helped to run the salon more efficiently.
Okay.
From payroll to paying my taxes on time to, how do I get tax breaks? So I became, when stylists would leave the salon or when I closed the salon down, those stylists would still come to me asking me questions about, what do you think about this and what do you think about that? So what started off as just offering advice to a few people on social media allowed me to offer it on a bigger scale. Cool. So it was something that I've always done, but it's just on a bigger scale now. So the leading beauty community is leading beauty professionals community is a subscription based digital plan, and what it does is reminds them of those important events. So it reminds you that on Saturday, don't go out shopping because that's not your net income, that's your gross income. Mm-hmm. And if you do, separate your money, for your taxes, separate your money for your savings, and you spend after you tax all those things. So it's just subtle reminders that they'll get every day, and it's like a task reminder. Okay. So if someone needed a taskmaster or if someone needed a secretary, it's a virtual secretary or virtual taskmaster that reminds independent contractors or beauty professionals of what they need to do to run their business.
Super cool. Very smart. Where did this idea come from? Was it because, people were asking you and you're like, wait a second, I can be this virtual system for the masses?
And that's exactly what happened. Okay. It was a situation where people just kept asking me questions. And I don't know if you've gone to my page, but I offer advice on just simple advice on what they need to do. I would probably say I'm a nerd and I like to read. So I'm just doing the work for people. It's stuff that it's not magic. It's nothing that I'm creating. It's just information. I like getting information. And I've always been in a space that I like sharing it. I like sharing it with my peers. I want us all to win. And I want all hairstylists to be looked at as businesses and as professional businesses. And I don't want us to lose all our money in tax debt and on the IRS and, that kind of thing. So that's what's important to me. And that was the mission behind.
Got it. What do you see is the biggest thing, the biggest reminder, the biggest category that you see stylists needing help with their business?
I would say deadlines, not missing deadlines. I think we lose so much money on not paying things on time, and the penalty in which you have to pay puts you in in a situation that further creates more debt. And now you're in this hole and it's too hard to dig. And some people, they actually give up. I've seen great hairstylists who give up on running their business because they can't run a business. And it's just as simple as we're taught to pass the State Board of Cosmetology. We're taught in school, that's what they're teaching us. And then we're creative, so we want to go on to learn how to do the best haircut, or the best coloring technique. But then we forget about what's the best way to run our business, or we forget about what tasks do we do to make sure that we are efficiently running it. We're creating. My goal is that hairstylists pay the least amount of taxes as possible because we're paying more. We're paying more. We make good money, but we're blowing it all in penalties and debt. So how can we structure our businesses so that we can save some money and actually retain the money that we make.
Yeah, that's so smart because you get into it because you are creative, right? And you
Yeah.
want your hands in hair, you want to create. And so then it's like, ugh, I don't want to do all this paperwork. Like, ugh.
Yes, yes. Yeah, we need bookkeepers,
Yeah.
A simple bookkeeper would help someone.
Yeah.
Having a bookkeeper, knowing how much we spend on products,
Yeah.
And everybody now rushes to get to salon suites, but nobody really actually, there's a large amount of hairstylists that are missing that process that we took of working under people that were more seasoned, more.
Good point.
So we heard their mistakes, and we were able to correct some of ours on the way. But then we're rushing to be independent so fast that we're missing those little lessons. And it's
such a good point.
It's getting worse. It's getting worse. Yeah.
That's such a good point because you're like, okay, great. Got my license, off I go. Let me book myself solid. But then it's like, wait a second. There's all this other stuff. And it is so interesting that there isn't, because of that wave of independence and salon suites, why haven't schools adapted to teach basic business building, bookkeeping, all of the regulatory things that we need to know as stylists?
Yes, it's so true. So true. I that's one of my goals. I want to create a curriculum in cosmetology schools.
That's awesome.
Business. Yeah. For business. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that. So how can people get in contact with you for business help? How can they get signed up with the leading beauty professionals community?
Well, I have a website, and it's DeaundraMetzger.com. So there are links on the website that you can book a consultation call. And then there's also a link on my Instagram page where they can, a Linktree link where they can find all of those. They can book a call, or they can go straight to leading beauty professionals community and sign up and get those reminders.
Yeah, I love it. So fascinating. Your career is so phenomenal and so interesting. I love diving into all the nooks and crannies of the salon pro space because we can do so many things. We can take the career any way we want, right? Exactly. And you've certainly done that. So yes, congratulations.
Do that. Thank you, Kelly.
Amazing. Okay, now we're to a little section we call the T's quick takes. And so we're going to need your quick takes. Okay. The first one is, what was your first ever product that you owned? Beauty product or hair product?
It was a hair product. It was a curling iron.
Okay. All right. Because you had people's hair to do in your mom's kitchen.
Yes.
So
yes.
You needed it.
Yeah.
All right. Are you superstitious? And if so, about what?
I am not superstitious. However, I think some people I do highly believe in karma. So some people look at karma as being a superstition. I believe whatever you give the world, you get back.
I do too. I do believe that the nice girl does win.
Yes, always.
I do.
Always.
Even if you got to get burned a couple times on the way, you're not giving up on the nice girl.
Even if it's painful.
Yep. All right. What do you consider the ultimate comfort food?
Apple pie and ice cream.
Oh, yum. Warm apple pie?
Warm apple pie.
All right. Because ice cream's got to melt. All right. Last one. You are on a deserted island and can only bring 3 beauty products. What are you bringing?
My hair color for this gray.
Ooh, okay.
Definitely. Definitely. Sunscreen.
Okay.
Hair products. Body moisturizer.
Okay. Those are good. Those are pretty solid. I like it. Any parting words for those out there that want to get into your corner of the industry?
I would say network. If you find someone that's doing what you want to do, don't be too prideful to reach out. Don't be too prideful to just introduce yourself online. Don't be too prideful, because everybody has a space. There was always someone that started from somewhere, and don't be ashamed of where you are. Just focus on where you want to go. Make those connections.
I love that. I feel that our industry is very collaborative and collective and willing to help, right? That's what I love about the industry.
Yeah, I think if you ask, you can get it. I think if you ask. Now, it might be you have to ask 5 people, and the first 2 say no. but don't give up, because there are so many people, you know that, Kelly. There's so many people that taught us along the way that we learned from and got those little nuggets that helps with our businesses.
For sure. And put it out there. You're going to get it back, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. The last thing is, can you again plug your social media channels just to make sure that everyone is following all of your fabulousness?
Okay. So I am on Instagram as Deaundra Metzger.
Okay.
DeeMetz, Z as in zebra, G as in girl, ER. Okay. I am also on Facebook with the same name.
Okay.
I am actually it's Deaundra Metzger. Sorry about that. So it's DAUNDRA DD 2DE and Metzger. And I have a website as well, so they can. But the link for Instagram, my website is on that link. You can always find my website to, keep up with what's going on. I have a link for my YouTube channel, and I have a link for TikTok as well.
Amazing. I love it. You're everywhere. You're doing all the things.
I'm trying to keep up, Kelly.
I think you're keeping up. I think you're doing more than keeping up. I think you're paving the way. So congratulations again to you. And so great to have you on the pod.
Thank you, Kelly. I enjoyed it.